Good morning, everybody. This is Natalia Subagio from Jakarta, and it's a pleasure to have you all join us wherever you are in the world. I must say this is an exciting time for us all in the UN Global Compact, and particularly for the Indonesian chapter of the UN Global Compact. We are today very honored to be hosting this particular breakout session on a topic which is very important. Unfortunately, our chair for the Indonesia chapter is unable to join us at this moment due to some technical difficulties, but I'm sure he'll be able to join us later on. But for the beginning, let us just kick off with a short message from our minister, Ibu Gusti Ayu Bintang Darmawati. She is the Indonesian Minister for Women's Empowerment and Child Protection. Ibu Gusti Ayu, as you can probably imagine, is very busy in the midst of trying to find solutions to this pandemic. But she is kind enough to share with us a message via video. So if I may ask Soraya to share with us her video. Please go ahead, Soraya. We are unable to hear her. Can you just check the sound, Soraya?
Merupakan kehormatan bagi saya untuk berbicara pada sesi UN Global Compact Virtual Leader Summit yang mengangkat tema Pathway to Progress Prioritizing. Tema ini sangat relevan dengan kondisi saat ini, di mana di seluruh sedang mengalami masa pandemi COVID-19. Hadirin, investasi terbaik bagi suatu bangsa adalah sumber daya manusianya. Di Indonesia, 49,8% dari total populasi adalah perempuan. Ini artinya, investasi terhadap perempuan merupakan investasi terhadap setengah dari sumber daya manusia. UN Global Compact menekankan bagaimana setiap bisnis harus melaksanakan 10 prinsip yang komprehensif, dan prinsip yang pertama adalah semua proses bisnis harus memperhatikan hak asasi manusia atau HAM. Karena hak perempuan adalah bagian dari HAM, maka dengan mengacu pada UN Global Compact, berarti dunia usaha juga harus menerapkan hak perempuan di dalam proses bisnisnya. Sementara ini, pada kesempatan ini kami sampaikan, khusus dikaitkan dengan isu anak, Indonesia telah cukup maju menerapkan UN Global Compact, yaitu Children Rights in Business Principle, yang Policy, Product, and Program. Hal ini ditandai dengan Asosiasi Perusahaan Sahabat yang kita kenal APSAI pada tahun 2020 yang menerapkan 3P tersebut dengan fokus pada anak, dan bahkan setiap tahunnya melakukan audit dan memberikan penghargaan kepada perusahaan-perusahaan yang memenuhi 3P dalam bentuk anugerah perusahaan layak anak, dan hingga saat ini APSAI telah beranggotakan hampir 1.000 perusahaan. Jika di setiap perusahaan memiliki 1.000 karyawan, maka hak anak dari 1 juta karyawan terpenuhi. Hal serupa yang menurut saya juga sangat relevan apabila perusahaan dalam menerapkan prinsip UN Global Compact tersebut dapat diawali dari kebijakan yang dibuat menjadi peduli terhadap perempuan. Penerapan 10 prinsip tersebut sangat diperlukan karena masih terjadi ketimpangan gender, sehingga menghambat perempuan untuk berkembang sekalipun berbagai indeks yang mengukur kesetaraan gender di Indonesia menunjukkan angka yang semakin baik, tetapi ketimpangan gender masih ada. Dan hal ini dapat dilihat dari keterbatasan perempuan dalam memperoleh akses terhadap program pembangunan, keterbatasan akses pengambilan keputusan, keterbatasan dalam partisipasi, atau belum banyak perempuan berperan sebagai aktor pembangunan dan sebagai penerima manfaat dari hasil pembangunan. Keterbatasan ini terjadi di hampir semua bidang pembangunan, dan untuk itulah negara harus hadir untuk memberdayakan perempuan agar ketimpangan gender bisa kita minimalisir. Yang artinya dengan negara di sini tentunya tidak hanya pemerintah, tetapi juga termasuk masyarakat dan dunia usaha. UN Women, kesetaraan gender di tempat kerja di Indonesia masih tergolong tinggi. Angkatan kerja perempuan hanya 52%, sedangkan tingkat partisipasi angkatan kerja laki 80%, atau terdapat gap sebesar 31%. Padahal jika tingkat partisipasi angkatan kerja perempuan dapat naik menjadi 56% di tahun 2025, produk domestik bruto dapat bertambah hingga 135 miliar US dollar. Sementara itu, sebagian besar usaha di Indonesia, usaha mikro kecil menengah, di mana lebih dari 50%-nya dimiliki oleh perempuan. Oleh karena itu, sesungguhnya perempuan Indonesia tangguh dalam menopang ekonomi bangsa. Pandemi COVID-19 telah memberi tantangan baru bagi pemberdayaan perempuan, membuat dampak COVID-19 terhadap perempuan menjadi lebih. Perempuan kehilangan pekerjaan, apabila suami di PHK, diisolasi, ataupun meninggal dunia karena COVID-19, otomatis perempuanlah yang menjadi tulang punggung keluarga. Di rumah, tugas perempuan semakin berlipat ganda ketika dan bekerja dari rumah dilaksanakan. Pada masa pandemi COVID-19, Kementerian Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan Perlindungan Anak juga telah bekerja sama dengan perusahaan-perusahaan dan lembaga masyarakat untuk itu meningkatkan kapasitas perempuan antara lain melalui pelatihan-pelatihan virtual, turut mendukung dan berkontribusi pada pemenuhan kebutuhan spesifik perempuan dan anak dengan melibatkan lebih dari 20 perusahaan dan organisasi masyarakat serta dan bantuan ini diberikan kepada perempuan dan anak dari keluarga sangat miskin di zona merah COVID-19. Hal yang terpenting hadirin yang kami hormati adalah dunia usaha harus sebagai aset yang paling berharga bagi keberlangsungan perusahaan. Maka sebagai Menteri Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan Perlindungan Anak Republik Indonesia mewakili seluruh kaum perempuan, saya meniwas perempuan seluruh dunia untuk dikembangkan, dilindungi dunia. Di antaranya dengan satu, memenuhi hak-hak ketenaga kerjaan perempuan seperti hak kesehatan reproduksi, yaitu istirahat, melahirkan, keguguran, dan menstruasi, termasuk laktasi dan yang kedua, melindungi perempuan dari segala bentuk kekerasan di tempat kerja seperti pelecehan seksual. Ketiga, memastikan potensi perempuan untuk dapat berkembang dengan jenis laki. Yang keempat, memberikan upah yang sama antara perempuan dan laki-laki dan melibatkan perempuan dalam pengambilan keputusan dan organisasi di dalam perusahaan seperti serikat buruh. perjuangan kita untuk mencapai kesetaraan gender harus lebih masif dan intensif lagi. Untuk itu, dalam kesempatan ini, saya ingin mengajak kita semua dan tangan, mengesampingkan ego, dan menatap satu tujuan bersama, yaitu dunia yang setara bagi perempuan dan laki-laki, di mana perempuan kuat dan berdaya. Saya yakin pada meningkatkan kita bersama dalam melindungi perempuan anak sebagai respon yang lebih luas, lebih jelas. Anak seluruh potensi luar biasa para perempuan di seluruh dunia untuk dapat dikembangkan, dilindungi, dan diberdayakan oleh hadirin yang kami hormati. Pidato kali ini akan saya tutup salah satu peribahasa yang terkenal di Indonesia. Bersatu kita teguh, bercerai kita runtuh. Bersama kita akan kuat, bersama kita akan menang. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Ibu Menteri atas pesan yang disampaikan pada kami. I'm sorry I sort of started speaking in Bahasa Indonesia, but I just conveyed our vote of thanks to the Minister for sharing her thoughts with us. As she mentioned, Indonesia, almost half of our population constitutes women, but we have yet to unleash their full potential. The number of women in the workforce, in the formal workforce, is still below its full potential. And so there is, although a lot has been achieved by Indonesia, there is still a long way to go. But I see Pak Junardy, the chair of the Indonesia the Global Compact Network here, joining us. I'm sorry, Pak Jun, we started without you. So why don't you jump in and give us your inspiring comments? Pak Jun, we cannot hear you. Can you?
Yeah, Natalia, just it's a great pleasure to be here. Okay, just jump in a bit late. Okay, but you just go ahead with the session for the timing point of view. Just go ahead. Thank you.
All right. If you see I'm going wrong or going astray, just let me know. All right. With that, let's jump into the core of our conversation. What we're trying to understand today, or what we're trying to convey to our audience today, is why it is so important to invest in women during the good times, but especially during the bad times. And indeed, with the pandemic, we are the whole world over experiencing some challenging times. But having said that, it is also a time for us to reflect and to rethink, reset the way we've been doing our work, and to become more innovative and creative in trying to achieve economic development, which is inclusive and more equitable. Now, the Indonesia Global Compact Network, the chapter here, we are very pleased to have been able to initiate a working relationship or collaboration between two very different industries that involves an activity to empower women. And I'm sure once you hear what these two companies are doing, you'd be very surprised that such a collaboration could take place. But I will ask Ibu Elim Sritaba, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer of Asia Pulp and Paper of the Sinarmas Group, collaboration is all about. And then Pak Samuel Pranata from the Tilaar Group, who is in charge of Director of Corporate Communications social responsibilities and policy and procedures will contribute his experience with this collaboration. So Ibu Elim, why don't we start with you?
Thank you, Bu Natalia. So I think maybe I can share what kind of collaboration with Marta Tilaar group. Since the launch of APP Sustainability Roadmap Vision 2020 and Forest Conservation Policy, we have committed to protect the natural forests in the concession areas where we work in, included the social commitment to respect human rights. From the efforts to do so, we have learned a lot about how interconnected the rural landscape is. Social and economic inequalities are a source of conflict, not only between companies and communities, but also between communities and the environment. The importance of local communities in the success of our sustainability commitments by providing them capacity building included access to market. One key learning that we have discovered during implementation and embark on various community empowerment programs, including our flagship program called Desa Makmur Peduli Api or DMPA, the program based on integrated forestry and farming system. Through this DMPA, APP has provided seed funding as well as access to technologies and working closely assist them with the techniques to improve the productivity of farming with sustainable ways. The program is now implemented in more than 380 villages across the various regions in which we operate, and it has seen improvement in livelihoods, where some of the participants' income have increased by up to 80% higher compared to their previous income. We realize that women hold a crucial role in the success of this program. By empowering women, more than 80 women groups in various fields such as farming, handicraft, and food beverage, women has taken leadership and entrepreneurship role, and we believe they are likely to be in the position of influence to shape their surrounding, including the next generation as a mother role. We can't hear you, Bu Natalia.
Nat, please unmute.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, Ibu Elim. You mentioned your village empowerment program. Can you give us an illustration, a video about what it is that we're doing? Because the principles sound very good, but sometimes the implementation, we would like to see it, how it's being implemented.
Yeah, maybe
video to share
I would explain first what's the business takeaway from this collaboration. So the biggest group is that collaboration across sectors is necessary to make a lasting impact, especially when they have a common goal at heart. So by investing in women, we have been able to make contribution to the sustainability and resilience for these rural communities. So 1,600 women that have been trained through the program collaborated with Marta Tilaar Group. So included 11 young women have received scholarship for the formal training to be spa therapists. And 6 of them already getting access to work in Marta Tilaar Group spas. So achieving and providing them with skill, of course, will maintaining the economic empowerment of women and the wider community continuing efforts to achieve progress against our sustainability commitments. So particularly on forest protection, we have seen the rates of deforestation on our concession conservation areas have reduced since 2015. Improving the lives of communities is itself a tremendously positive outcome and has helped us foster better relationship with our community neighbors. Especially for the young women, they have opportunity to get training that maybe it could not be accessed in the village itself, but now we are facilitating them through this collaboration. And just for information, during this COVID-19 situation, some of the women groups are getting more income, increasing twice up to triple to selling their herb drinks product like red ginger, honey, because we know that these products are needed for our health now. So I can share some video, what kind of collaboration has worked best, and maybe in the video we can see more clearly. Let me share it.
Are you doing this in all your concessions?
Yes. Yeah, in the 5 provinces, Sumatra, in Sumatra, 3 provinces, Jambi, South Sumatra, Riau, and 2 in Kalimantan, West Kalimantan and East Kalimantan. So, let me share the video. Can you see the
it's
video now?
not yet running. It's on the screen, but it's not yet running.
Can I play?
Okay. There's no sound.
Ada suaranya?
Program Desa Makmur Peduli Api yang dilaunching adalah satu program yang terintegrasi yang terdiri dari beberapa pilar. Pilar utamanya adalah pertama adalah pilar pemberdayaan ekonomi masyarakat, bagaimana masyarakat dayakan. Yang kedua adalah pilar bagaimana mentransformasikan kegiatan-kegiatan masyarakat yang belum ramah lingkungan, misalnya seperti penyiapan lahan untuk tani, tetapi menggunakan cara-cara yang lebih baik.
Harus istilahnya area dampingan yang cukup banyak, paling tidak dari si yang satu kita sasar, yakni Riau, Jambi, Sumatera Selatan, Kalbe, dan Tilaar. Program ini akan berlangsung selama 2 tahun. Targetnya sekitar 1.000 perempuan.
Kami dapat pelatihan dari MPA cara pengolahan herbal, setelah dapat ini ada bazar di kabupaten ya, jadi kami ekspor produk kami dari jahe merah. Jadi di situ mengenalkan apa juga lah kayak kita praktek-praktek. Jadi ibu mencari apa ya yang harus aku buat, manfaatkan yang ada diolah aja. Jadi terjadilah jambu biji.
Dari acara ini saya banyak sekali belajar gimana caranya meles wajah yang baik dan benar.
Di sini kami diajarkan berbagai pendidikan kecantikan, tapi juga di sini merupakan rumah kedua bagi saya untuk mendapatkan teman-teman yang baik serta trainer-trainer yang sabar dan semangat dalam mengajarkan.
Para wanita-wanita yang berumah tangga juga punya kemampuan untuk memberi kontribusi pada penguatan ekonomi keluarga.
All right. Thank you, Ibu Elim, for sharing that video. I can see how enthusiastic the women are in participating in this project. But let's hear from Pak Sam from the Mata Tilaar Group. The Mata Tilaar Group is a major company that caters to the needs of women. Women are the consumers, but in this collaboration, Mata Tilaar is helping the women to also produce and not just consume. So, Pak Sam, can you share us your experience with this collaboration, and why is it so important for your company to invest in women?
Yeah, thank you, Ibu Natali. Can you hear my voice? Okay, good morning, everybody, and good evening. because we have in the 2 different times. For us, for Marta Tilaar, is an honor. We can collaborate with the most inspiring company, APP Sinarmas. So this is good collaboration, is a strategic movement because we can have interventing rural area development through women empowerment program. As our tagline, beautifying Indonesia, we not only beautifying women in their appearance, but we also beautifying the women of Indonesia in their inner beauty. So we need to educate women across the country so that they could have knowledge, competency, and this collaboration is very good, because it's a good collaboration since we have experience and competency in training and empowering women, whereby APP Sinarmas has a large women community in the 5 provinces in Indonesia. So this is very challenging for us to run through those provinces with 2-year programs. However,
we lost your connection, Pak Sam. A technical problem there. Is everybody experience the same thing? Is it just me, or is everybody losing the connection?
Yeah, I think we
No, I'm okay here.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
Pak Sam.
I'm okay.
We have lost Pak Sam also from,
we just
from our end.
we lost Sam.
We lost Sam.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, we lost you for a few minutes, Sam. Can you just repeat what you were saying?
So we believe with this collaboration, through our strength and expertise, we can run the program smoothly.
What were the biggest challenges in establishing this collaboration?
Yeah, because we need to have a standard. Yeah, we need to have a minimum standard that we need to give a train, educate the women. Some of the women is probably lack of the knowledge or less of knowledge. So how we can maintain the quality of the training is the part of is also a challenge for us, because it's not the same level of skill, level of knowledge. So we need to maintain our standards so they can have better education and better training from us.
Ibu Elim, if I may ask you, how do you select the women that want to participate in this program? Do they have to qualify, or do they have to have certain minimum qualifications, or are you opening this up to anybody, any woman who is interested? Ibu Elim?
Hello, Elim, we lost you.
Yeah,
lost.
Okay.
It's now raining very hard in Jakarta, so maybe connection is
maybe
bad.
the connection is quite bad.
We cannot hear you.
Yeah, now you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, we open access for all women, but of course, like what Pak Sam explained, that there is some requirement or minimum requirement from the training itself, because of I also visit the training center. We found that become a spa therapist is not something that as easier as we thought. So they have to understand some of the biological body system. So I think that's the minimum requirement that from Marta Tilaar Group provide test for the participant. But of course, from IPP, we open for any participant or young women that have a willingness to join the program. But we leave it for Marta Tilaar group to have some tests to make sure that they can meet the minimum requirement. So that's the process.
And how do you link up the aspect of sustainable farming, sustainable good agricultural practices with women's empowerment? Because these are two issues that people don't normally connect. So how do you combine the two objectives?
Yeah, I think good question. So like what our minister explained, women sometimes has a main role in the family, especially to also support the economy. So we provide not only provide access to their children or young women to have training, become spa therapists, but also we collect some of their capacity on how we can build or improve to have more access or product improvement. And then we also facilitate to the market to have more the premium price, train them to improve the packaging, the quality. So by improving this capacity, we believe that they have a more economy and benefit to them. And we believe that by having enough or support their livelihood, they will not think to always have a more land. Because of Indonesia, I think a lot of communities, especially in the rural area, they always think that the more land I have, the more money that I can get. So, but we change their mindset that not always have to have a big land, but how you can improve the skill by using the non-timber forests within the forest area surrounding the villages. Because of one of our objectives, want to reduce the deforestation by clearance the natural forest within the forest within the village itself.
Okay, thank you, Bu Elim. Pak Sam, is this the first time you have been collaborating with an industry which is not traditionally or not conventionally thought of as related to your industry?
Yeah, I think some of the company we have already collaborated, but for APP Sinarmas, I think this is the first time we collaborate within 2 years period.
And do you think that this kind of collaboration can be replicated? Can you work with other industries?
Yeah, of course. We believe with this collaboration we can replicate with other industry, especially the industry or the company who has a large women community. So we can still continue with our tagline, which is Beautify Indonesia. We are not only beautifying women in their appearance, but also in the inner beauty of their heart. So as Ibu Elim said, that women can also help the family welfare to improve the economy of the family. So I think I believe with this program, with this woman empowering program, it could be duplicated into another industry or into another areas that we believe we can collaborate with.
And what kind of challenges did you have you both experienced in trying to implement this innovative collaboration? Pak Sam.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, challenges we need to meet the minimum standard. Yeah. So sometimes we have difficulty to monitoring their knowledge. Sometimes they need to have a basic requirement and basic knowledge that make us train them, have more time or more focus on the basic thing. So it's I think it's about the time, how we want to fasten the time. Sometimes depend on the person itself.
No.
Because this program we need also to have measurement. How many women that we can train them? How many? How much is the progress of the training? So we need to have what do you call the measurement rate.
Yeah. And but the follow-on question to that is, and this is maybe for Ibu Elim, because these are women in your communities. Once these women have undergone this training and they are now able to produce their herbal drinks, what do they do with their products? Are you assisting them in marketing the products? Are you providing financing so that they can create their own business with the products? So what happens after the training? This is 2-year training of so many, 1,000 or so women. I'm sure they're not all going to become spa therapists. Is Pak Sam going to absorb some of them in the Mata Tilaar salons, or is APP going to open up stores? What happens after that?
Yeah, so I think I will answer also what kind of challenge, but answering your question related to the products, after they create their products, of course, this is something unique to our program, because we also help them to change the packaging to have to get entered to the premium price. So we channel them with the market. And of course, there is a challenges, especially in the forest area, in the rural communities, because of the access, the infrastructure. I think we all know in Indonesia is not even in each place. So usually that's the difficulties because of the logistic part. Even they already can produce good quality, but in terms of logistic or transportation costs, to bring the products out from the forest, that's something become challenges right now. But we are thinking right now how we can create the market within the area itself. That's why usually we started with the facilitating the market within the province itself. If their location nearby to our office, so we provide the market to our employees. And then if they can produce more, then we can expand by sending out from the province itself. But of course, a lot of challenges during the implementation because of the transportation and infrastructure in the forest itself.
Yeah. So, Pak Livio, you've heard about the collaboration between Mata Tilaar Group and APP. It's quite unique, and I'm sure, I think this is a pilot program for both companies. This is a first. I think it's going to be a 2-year program. It's going to capture more than 1,000 women in very different places. What is your take on this? Is this the kind of collaboration that you think can succeed, or is this just a temporary solution?
Thank you.
How do we make this sustainable?
Thank you, Natalia. Thank you for the question. And since it's the first time for me to speak today, let me use the opportunity to thank warmly the organizers. I'm particularly happy that Pak Junardy has joined us today, because I wanted to warmly thank him, not only for this session, which picked on a very critical aspect of business and human rights, but for the ongoing cooperation that we have with the Indonesia chapter of the Global Compact Network, more specifically on the UN Guiding Principles of Business and Human Rights. So my perspective comes from the point of view of the Guiding Principles of Business and Human Rights. Now, going to your questions, I'm obviously sincerely impressed by the examples given. It is indeed ways in which one can put in practice the standards that we preach about continuously. The question is, how do we take this example to scale? How do we normalize these practices, so to speak? And this is, in a way, what the standards are there for, and more specifically, the standards, the perspective that I want to bring into this discussion, which is the one on the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights. I assume most of those who tuned into this discussion know about them, but for the benefit of those who don't, I will summarize it by saying that these standards are now the most recognized international standards when it comes to responsible business. They were adopted in 2011, and they're divided into 3 pillars. One that looks at the role of government is pillar 1. Pillar 2 looks at the role of the business, which is the one we're looking at today. And pillar 3 looks at the role of government and business whenever abuses do occur. Now, the guiding principles give the framework to those who want to do good, to those businesses that want to act responsibly and very often don't know how to go about it. And in doing that, I'd like to point to another specific tool, which is the one I want to actually show on camera. It's a new tool that the Working Group on Business and Human Rights, so the custodian of the UN Guiding Principles on Human Rights, came up with last year, which unpacks the gender aspects of the responsibility of business. So this guidance, which I can share the link on the chat for everyone that wants to look at it, unpacks precisely the actions that responsible companies like the one that we have heard from today should be doing when they want to place women in focus, when they want to empower them, when they want to avoid gender discrimination, and so on and so on. So again, very inspired by the examples given, but I would like perhaps to use this opportunity to also hear other people's views on how can we take these experiences, these pilots as they were called, to scale, because eventually the big impact happens when all companies adopt those principles. The big impact eventually, if you like, on the 2030 agenda, on the targets of SDG 5, happens when it's consistently businesses adopt such practices. I do have some recommendations and some actions that I want to point to, but I'll keep them perhaps for my second intervention, not to monopolize too much of the time. Over to you.
Thank you, Livio. Your comments makes me realize that we forgot to mention one aspect in this collaboration. What was the tone from the top, from the leadership, when this collaboration of empowering women was presented to the board? Did you get pushback from the board, from both your boards? And then on the ground, Ibu Elim, how did the husbands respond to their women taking these courses and then becoming more independent? How did you fight back this cultural mindset? Because, you know, adopting human rights principles and gender equality principles, a lot of it is, the pushback is from our traditional patriarchal mindsets and the unwillingness to open our minds towards the potential of women. So how did you all fight against that, Ibu Elim?
Okay. I think, the first time to convince the board on how this program or collaboration important to us, especially I need to connect because of if I propose that I want to train the women to become a spa therapist. Of course, there is no direct related to our business as a pulp and paper company. And then there's a lot of questions from the board, and I explained that Marta Tilaar Group not only provide the spa therapists, but they also help to give education in terms of the importance of some of the forest product, especially related to the herbs. And then I explained the connection that if the villagers understand or understood about how they can use some of the non-timber forest product, and then they can earn to support their family in terms of economy. Of course, this is help us to avoid fire prevention, natural forest deforestation issue that are all part of our commitment in our forest conservation policy. And how to deal with the husband. I think our program, the DMPA, is not limited for the women. So, but of course, we found that women has a strong leadership in terms of drive the economy of the family, and then can push also to the husband. So sometimes during the program, we also involve the husband. Because, for example, the farming, the husband can help during the farming, and the women can focus on how they can create products, and then think about the business and entrepreneur, and also educate the kids, especially. I think the experience, the mother who the one sending her young kids to also enter the spa therapy. I think this program is involve the whole family. So we are not only focused women, but of course we found some women have a strong character to drive this program.
And Pak Sam, this is your first collaboration with APP. What kind of impact are you hoping to make on women in particular with this program? How, at the end of 2 years, what would be your measure of success? Can this be scaled up, as Livio mentioned?
Yeah, I think no doubt that women play important role in many aspects. So hopefully with this collaboration, women can also help to improve family economy. First, that one is the first measurement that we want to raise up, and also the woman can be more independent. Yeah, so they can have their own activity. They can have their own business to help or to improving their economy in their family. And also for us is the important thing. Women is not only good in their appearance, yeah, but they also have good in the inner of their heart. So basically, woman has a balance between inner and outer beauty. That one is the most important thing that we always have a tagline: how we beautifying Indonesia, not only for beautifying the outer, but also the inner beauty.
Yeah, and I think what this program, that this collaboration should highlight is the fact that it's not just about creating income or generating income for women, but it's a lot more than that. And I think Livio can expand on this, why empowering women is not just about the economic aspects. It's more than that. And then you have your standards, your principles. How do you convince businesses to adopt these standards and principles, and to understand that women, it's not just about the economy. It's more than that.
Thank you, Natalia. That's exactly the question I was hoping you would make to me, because whenever we are in discussions like this, we all point out to how empowering women also has a good impact on the economy, good impact on business. There is most certainly, most of the cases, a business case for it. And it's important to point it out, because it is definitely a motivation for businesses to adopt these policies. But the question is always, what when there isn't a business case? And this is very important. This is when the norms come in. This is when the standards come in. And obviously our point of view is women should be empowered. Gender equality should be in focus. whether there is or there isn't a business case for it. And this is actually the main principle that Professor Suryadeva, who developed this guidance I was making reference to earlier, points out. Respecting women's rights should be taken first and foremost as a normative principle based on international human rights law. So again, there may be also a business case in many cases, but that shouldn't be the main driving force for it. And this should be then lead to, let me link it to another point you raised, Natalia, when you asked to the business representatives, the importance of the leadership setting the strong policy commitment for it. The second very important thing that the UN Guiding Principle asks to do is for the company, as represented by its leadership, to make a strong commitment on that, making the part of their human rights policy. The gender equality is a non-negotiable principle in the company and throughout their supply chain. So let me bring it, let me point to another way to scale this up, to make sure that if a company adopts a certain policy, like the good examples that we have heard, such a policy is set as an expectation for the entire supply chain, for the entire operations of that particular company. I'll leave it at that for now, Natalia.
Yeah, but again, when there is a business case, like in this particular case, it makes sense for Mata Tilaar Group to do this. It makes business sense for APP to do this. But again, how do you convince business leaders that even when there's no business case for it, gender equality, human rights, these are non-negotiable principles, as you said. But in reality, it's not the case. And what do you do? Do you reward companies that adopt these principles, or do you need to sanction companies who don't? Should consumers sanction companies who do not respect these principles?
Thank you.
How are we going to scale this up?
Thank you. Very, very relevant question. Thank you for these very relevant questions. Now, I am certainly in favor of incentives. I will call it incentives. So governments, for example, can incentivize companies that adopt policy which are human rights compliant, or in this case, compliant with women's rights or gender equality. However, it should not be based, there shouldn't be an incentive necessarily on something which under the international human rights law is an obligation. It's an obligation for the states, and it's an obligation for the companies to respect. When all the main business associations adopted the UN Guiding Principles on Business Human Rights in 2011, the business world accepted to become a so-called additional duty bearer. So accepted that under international human rights law, this should happen. Now, if we all accept that this is a non-negotiable universal principles and should be adopted as such, again, there's absolutely nothing against a government setting incentives, and there are some that I can point to if you want. And then you went into the issue of consumers' behavior. I mean, in a way, I mean, you use the issue of punishing, or obviously if there are norms that set this principle as mandatory, as many governments now are adopting, there are many governments that are moving towards mandatory human rights due diligence, meaning making it obligatory for companies to do certain things. And that obviously can come with certain fines, for example. But that is something that is hardly to necessarily convince businesses to come forward. The other argument that often convinces businesses is to manage their risks, their reputational risks, okay? Or if you like, to capitalize on a good practice that attracts consumers. Consumers are globally, and more even in Asia, and certainly in Indonesia, tuned into where do the products that I buy come from. And they are more and more ready to pay perhaps even a little bit more for a certain product if they know that they a company which is respectful of human rights. There are statistics. One of the first that comes to mind is from Europe, where 72% of the consumers surveyed said that they would be ready to pay a little bit more if they know that the products are sourced from companies. So again, that is certainly an incentive, right? Companies that can show to be more compliant with human rights, or in this case, women's rights standards, would have a competitive advantage over those who don't, in a world where consumers are more and more tuned into where do the products that I'm buying come from. Obviously, this triggers a whole lot of discussions about leveling the playing field, because yes, sometimes it is maybe more expensive to be human rights compliant. So those companies that are compliant have a legitimate demand from states to set policies that level the playing field. They make those human rights standards, actually translate them into normative legal standards.
Yeah, thank you, Livio. We only have 5 minutes left. There are a lot of questions and comments in the chat box, and I think I've tried to address most of them. But there is one comment that I need to highlight, and that is the fact that in Indonesia, we have a lot of women already who are leaders in business and who are doing not just making money for their businesses, but also empowering women. And so I, as an Indonesian woman, is very proud of that. But having said that, there is still the majority of women are still left behind. And I think collaborations like what APP and Sam with Marta Tilaar Group is doing should be encouraged. But again, the challenge is having these principles embedded in the whole supply chain. For instance, Pak Sam in Marta Tilaar, how many of his along the supply chain, how much of it consists of women? And also, Ibu Elim, in the industry that you're working, how many are women, and how protected are their rights, and how better are their lives made through it? But I think that would be another long conversation, another session. But for this particular session, I'd like to sort of just round it off by saying that although there's still a long way to go, we should appreciate the efforts that are already underway, and we hope that the initiatives that APP and Marta Tilaar has done will inspire others to do the same. But Jun, we have a few more minutes left. I think I should invite you to say a few remarks before I ask all the speakers to just give their closing 1 minute remark. Silakan, Pak Jun.
Yeah, thank you, Bu Natalia, for moderating this session. It's interesting things, and the idea of having this kind of program is just to showcase how two different industries can collaborate together when we are talking about women. And so this open up that whatever the industry, it should be able to collaborate together when we are talking about women. And there are two aspects that Livio also mentioned. One is about these women empowerment principles, and the other also that it is in fact related to the UN Guiding Principle on Business and Human Rights. Yeah. So and I would like just to touch also here that all of these things is related to this SDG 5, gender equality, SDG 8, decent work and the economic growth, and of course certainly SDG 17 to foster the partnership for the goals altogether. So and again, this kind of we are talking about the role of women everywhere. Actually, it's talking about, we have not touched yet, the role of women in the health of the family, the role of the woman in the education for the family, the role of the woman in the business, the role of the women in the environmental issues in everywhere. So it is actually, when we are talking about the women, we are talking about the whole aspect of the life. So and the Global Compact has been focusing on these two focus items so far in Indonesia. Number one is a woman empowerment. It's a multi-years of the efforts, and the second one is also the introduce the UN Guiding Principles on a business and human rights. So thank you again, and I would like also to thank you to Minister Bintang Puspayoga for the keynotes, and thank you to the panelists, Elim, Livio, also Sam, and also certainly to you. Has been an excellent moderator. By the way, Bu Natalia is the former president of the Transparency International Indonesia, and she is also the advisory board of Indonesia Global Compact Network.
Thank you, Pak Jun. Now, I did say that I would want one closing statement from everybody before we finish off, but since it's already 10:59, it's almost 11, and Pak Jun has rounded off the conversation so nicely. I would just like to take this opportunity to thank you, Elim, and Pak Sam, and also Livio, for your insight, and hope we can meet again in the other sessions. And good luck in all your endeavors to promote women.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for yes, and then again, good morning, good evening for all participants
Good morning,
here,
good evening for
and
all
thank you very much for those of you who are still tuning in to the global breakout sessions organized by Indonesia Global Compact Network, and then for those who just join us, warm welcome to all of you. So we just finished our discussion on the prioritizing investment in women. And soon we are going to start with another session entitled to Adapting to the New Normal with a Bold Look Forward. So, and before we start this session, I would like to ask Soraya to share some guidance once more about these sessions, because of this interpretation. One speaker will be in Bahasa. Soraya? Are you there, Soraya? Well, if not, I think she has also displayed in a chat box about those of you who want to have a translations, what to do about this one. The purpose of this session is that to discuss how business address the challenge of facing the COVID-19 pandemic, and what are the strategic industries impacted either negatively or positively to ensure the continuities and sustainability, and as well also to be prepared for the post-pandemic. And why this implementation of the SDG even now more relevant and more important during this COVID-19 and the new normal. So for the interactive dialogues, it will be led by Professor Firmanzah, the Rector of University of Paramadina, who is also our member of Board of Supervisor of Indonesia Global Compact Network. Over to you, Prof. Firmanzah.
Thank you, Pak Junardy. Still good morning from Jakarta time, and good evening in the other part of this planet. Welcome to the second breakup sessions hosted by UN Global Compact Chapter Indonesia, and this session we will discuss such an interesting topics, talking about how to adapt to the new normal with a bold look forward. And I'm sure that this is quite interesting topics, and everyone's waiting what are the role and what are the strategies done and preparing from the private sectors adapting to the new normal. Obviously from the positive side, obviously from the optimistic side. And once again, we will relate it to the consequence of this kind of strategy to the SDG schools completions. Today we will have four distinguished speakers. Let me first introduce one by one. The first speaker is Ibu Shinta Widjaja Kamdani. She is a Vice Chairman of Indonesia Chamber of Commerce and Industry. In Indonesia, we call it KADIN. And she also CEO of Sintesa Group. Sintesa Group consists of various industrial sectors like property, energy, industrial products, and consumer products. The second distinguished speaker will have Ibu Meshvara Kanjaya. She is the of PT Supra Boga Lestari Limited. She leads the biggest premium grocery retailers in Indonesia with 48 stores operating nationwide. So we will have the perspectives from the retail sectors. And I think the retail sectors pretty much highly impacted operationally by the COVID-19. And the third distinguished speaker, we have Bapak Vidjongtius. He is the President Director of PT Kalbe Farma Limited. PT Kalbe Farma Limited is a leading pharmaceutical companies in Indonesia, and I'm quite sure that the operational of pharmaceutical companies also and again highly impacted by the COVID-19. So how the strategy done by the PT Kalbe Farma, and obviously how the linkage of PT Kalbe Farma Limited to support the SDGs goals will be elaborated by Bapak Vidjongtius. And the last speaker will be Bapak Dr. Lee Agustinus Dharmawan PhD. He is the founder of doctorSHARE, or one of the leading humanitarian institutions in Indonesia. In Indonesia, we call it Dr. Peduli. The activities from doctorSHARE is quite diverse.
Society in relation to the health protocol through a digital platform. Our Minister of Health, where they are responding very fast with the relaxations of to allow the digital e-prescriptions from the doctors. So we can we create online consultations, online chatting, so the doctors can communicate directly with the patients and prescribe immediately. And then our platform is connected to the pharmacy network for the last mile delivery. So this platform is very useful during the physical distancing mode, and we strongly believe that these digital health consultations or services will be continue and become a new normal in the future. And the other area, for example, like I can explain about innovations, is one of the long-term strategies. So Kalbe is more and more editing in the research and development investment, especially the COVID-19 related products. So like vaccines or herbal medicines, through joining the clinical trial with the government consortium led by Minister of Research and Technology. And also at the same time, Kalbe involved or joined with the overseas clinical trial in South Korea. So this research initiative is very important and giving us accessibility of the vaccine and medicines when it's ready. So for the long-term objective, of course, this is to reduce the dependency of the imported material. So these are some key business strategy that we are doing now. Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, Pak Vidjong, I'm quite interesting from your explanations, especially from the innovations and R&D done in your companies. Can you elaborate more how you proceed the innovation and R&D process, especially related to the COVID-19 virus?
Yeah, I think it's very important now, Professor, to work together, because we know that research or clinical trial, especially like linked to the COVID-19 initiative, I think this is the way that the only way that we can do is collaborations. So we collaborate with the government institutions, professional, all the institutes, university, academy, including the overseas partners. So this is the way that to accelerate the process, because we need, now we don't have time, so we have to do it as quick as possible. So that's why we have a local collaboration, and we also have the overseas collaboration. And so far, I think the support from the government, especially the Minister of Research and Technology, including the Minister of Health, are working very fast and try to find a shortcut. Of course, take into account the safety, the efficacy, and the quality of the products. I think this is the way that we are looking forward for the fast-moving research here in the next 6 months to 1 year to go.
And moving forward, heading to the new normal, is there any particular strategy that you already prepared in terms of, in the context of manufacturing facilities, in administrations, and how to deal with your suppliers, as well as securing a balance sheet in your company?
Yes, Professor, I think it's very important, especially like managing over 16,000 employees in the operations. It is very challenging now. While we realize that we have to ensure our operations, for example, like manufacturing, distribution, logistics, to be active at all time due to the basic health needs of our customer or our patients. So that's for starting from the beginning of this pandemic, we have formed a task force to conduct a health protocol. And now this task force is embedded into our company management system. So for example, our employees have to use the online apps to report her or his health condition daily basis. So this procedure is help the management to control the overall health situations. So self-discipline is the key. Now we are implementing like a shift method and physical distancing to mitigate the health risks. And we're also preparing for the remote working system in the future, especially for the marketing and sales people. So this is quite new, and will take a lot of the discussion and preparations. For example, like in distributions and logistic area, we are consistently educate our team and our outlets, the stores, about the health protocol in order to create a new behavior, a new mindset of the team, and equipped with the hand sanitizer and also. So again, self-discipline is the key. So I think this is the message that we are consistently now in the next few months before we can see the recovery period to overcome this COVID-19. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Vidjong. Since Bu Shinta is already with us, I move to Bu Shinta. Bu Shinta, can you explain to us exactly how the impact of COVID-19 pandemic to the business sectors in Indonesia?
Shinta, you need to unmute.
Thank you, Pak Firman, and thank you for this opportunity. Yep. I think we've the impact for all business sectors across in Indonesia heavily. I have to say COVID-19 bring a demand shock and supply shock. So I always said, if we look at the numbers, the demand from the demand shock, actually retail has gone down to about -11 something percent. And from the supply side, the PME manufacturer actually has lost down to about 27.5. So this is all numbers, the lowest ever, for the past 10 years. And of course, this in all across sectors, you can see that, for example, the hotel tourism sector that has impacted from the beginning, many hotels are already closed down, over 1,800. Many industry manufacturing business are lowering their capacity all the way above 50%, automotive, textile, so forth. So this has really impacted us. But what I wanted to touch is the impact on the unemployment. This is what Indonesia, I think, needs to be very much focused on. So if we look at the unemployment today, before COVID, it's already lying about 7 million. But with the COVID, what happened is we have what we call workers that are, we call it unpaid leave or dirumahkan. So this together with those that has been actually terminated, the number that we receive from all different associations already reach above 6 million people. So this is what we need to be watchful, because Indonesian also has a very big informal sector. We have about 70 million informal sector. And these people are impacted today. So what our worries is all this unemployment, while the companies may not, terminate them today because a lot of companies have cash flow issues, but it will definitely impact the people not actually having jobs. So this then impact to what we call the poverty level. So as you know, Pak Firmanzah, in SDG number 1, our aim is no poverty, right? Well, this COVID definitely will create more poverty for Indonesia. I think the estimate from our government, we will, the number is accessing about 3 million below poverty level. So there will be an increase and the number will keep on increasing. So while we have quite a huge middle class before, I think the lower middle class will actually go down also to the poverty level. This is really our biggest worry in terms of employment and poverty.
So the biggest challenge that you already mentioned, that COVID-19 impact to our economy will create more unemployment, unpaid leave, more poverty, and more informal sector. So how KADIN, Chamber of Commerce Indonesia, deal with this kind of situations?
Yes.
I mean, the demand sectors will hit very much.
Yeah. And I think we need to see during our crisis 98, actually the big companies impacted, but our SME was our backbone. Well, with this COVID, basically everybody impacted, including our SME. So we were already having such a growing SME, which is a very big upside for Indonesia. And what will happen to them? I mean, a lot of our SME is also part of the supply chain of the Indonesian industries. So the big industry impacted, of course, this is also impacted all our SMEs. So what can we do? There's a number of things that actually the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, KADIN, is doing. I think, first of all, there need to be a sense of unity among businesses, that this is a crisis that we are all facing. So we need to be together to find solution, including giving input. So a lot of our jobs is giving inputs every day to our government in terms of how they can support us, support all businesses, from big to small. Now, there are 3 areas of focus that we're doing. First is on the health. As you know, health and well-being, SDG number 3 is very important, right? And we can see there is definitely a focus on health on all corporations across level. So while corporations are also impacted, I think there a lot has been done by corporation to support on the health part. Now, the government is also doing the same. So health is a big part. We in KADIN has mobilized over $50 million to mobilize health medical equipment, from ventilator all the way to PPE, all the way to masks, everything. So the medical equipment was a very big drive to support, especially across Indonesia. As you know, Indonesia has very big region all over, and we can't just be focusing on facilities in Jakarta or the big city. We need to go across, and this has been through our extensive network. We've been doing focusing and supporting government on the health side, and government has also been giving health stimulus. The second aspect is the social safety net. We have to say that why actually government is starting now to restart the economic activities, because we realize, hungry people will be angry people. We have to be very, very careful. And I think the social safety net is important to target not just people that has already currently under the poverty level in the government database, but now that a lot of people are impacted, including in informal sector, they need support as well as food, and this is something that KADIN is also mobilizing, giving sembako, giving essential needs for people to basically eat and live. And the third aspect is the recovery of the economy. And this is very, very important. We have to live with the disease for quite some time. We believe that until the vaccine is found, this is something that we have to get adjusted to. That's why we call it the new normal, right? So we have been working with the government for the recovery of the economy. And this is not about just currently helping reducing costs and helping existing business with the restructuring of the economy, restructuring of the credit and so forth, but new credit, because in order to recover, SMEs also need new credit to restart their business. Pak Firman?
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to add, I think one thing though that is important is, I think during this new normal, it's important for business also to transform and look at SDG as a big part of transforming their business. I think this is why I've been very much working with many companies now to look at that each company needs to have their own roadmap of SDG and how while they reset the button and starting new normal, they have to look at how to incorporate SDG. So I want to actually just say, if you don't mind, 3 things that's very important for business to look at, because we have to invest in this SDG. And I think some of the initiatives as part of the post-COVID that we've been doing, for example, is one is the ESG investing. We've seen that that many companies that has been focused on ESG actually has been outperform many other companies that has not focused on ESG. So ESG investing, this is very important. The second is the COVID-19 impact fund. So we've been working in how to leverage public-private partnership and mobilizing private investment to help with the social issue, such as education, healthcare, innovation, and affordable housing. So I think Widjaja mentioned about innovation. I think this is clearly a big thing that we need to focus on. So we're proposing to look at into this COVID-19 impact fund. And the third is the green economy recovery. I think requires implementation of policy and measure to stimulate economic activity, while at the same time preserving, protecting, and enhancing environmental and natural resources. So we're really supporting more of the renewable and clean energy. We're supporting more circular economy with companies. I think this is all related to the SDG goals, the goals that we have been working on. So I think this is some of the areas that I think is very, very important. So while we are transforming ourselves, we're looking into the new normal, that this is something we're focusing.
Thank you, Bu Shinta. So we are very glad that the KADIN's commitment to the ESG, social governance, Bu Shinta already mentions the ideas of COVID-19 impact fund, and the last one is commitment to the renewable and clean energy. I move to Dr. Lee Dharmawan. Since the presentations and the discussion with Dr. Lee Dharmawan will be conducted in Indonesia, those who need translations already share in the chat box, so you can just click link share, already put it on the chat box. Pak Dr. Lee, dapat diceritakan Pak kira-kira apa yang dikerjakan doctorSHARE terkait selama proses apa yang terjadi selama 3 bulan ini pandemi COVID. Apa yang terganggu, kemudian bagaimana solusi untuk bisa mengatasinya. Silakan Dr. Lee. Di unmute dulu Pak. Masih belum terdengar suaranya Pak Dr. Lee?
Dr. Lee perlu di-unmute dulu.
Di-unmute dulu mungkin Pak.
Bisa dengar sekarang Pak?
Sekarang bisa Pak. Silakan Pak.
Selamat siang Bapak-Bapak dan Ibu-Ibu. Terima kasih atas kesempatan yang diberikan kepada kami untuk sedikit menjelaskan tentang apa kiprah kami selama ini, khususnya selama 3 bulan terakhir, di mana dunia dikejutkan dengan pandemi COVID-19 ini. Bahwa sesungguhnya hidup layak sebagai seorang manusia adalah hak asasi yang paling hakiki yang kita miliki di seantero dunia ini. Dan ini dijamin baik di dalam piagam PBB yang berlaku secara universal maupun di dalam Undang-Undang Dasar negara kita, Indonesia, yang mengatakan bahwa hidup layak sesuai dengan martabat dan harkat manusia adalah hak asasi yang paling hakiki dari setiap manusia. Namun menjadi suatu kenyataan bahwa di mana-mana kita masih melihat kemiskinan, kelaparan. Ini bukannya salah pemerintah. Setiap pemerintah saya yakin sudah melakukan yang terbaik untuk mengentaskan kemiskinan ini. Tapi menjadi kenyataan bahwa tidak semua orang dapat dipenuhi haknya ini. Dan sadar bahwa hal tersebut tidak bisa kita serahkan seutuhnya hanya kepada pemerintah, namun merupakan tanggung jawab kita bersama seluruh umat manusia. Maka kami, doctorSHARE, memberanikan diri untuk melakukan sesuatu dalam ikut berpartisipasi, memberikan layanan kepada mereka yang membutuhkan hak-hak mereka di dalam bidang pelayanan medis, namun belum mendapatkannya secara utuh. Kami memberanikan diri untuk membuat rumah sakit apung, mengingat geografi negara kita Indonesia yang sangat luas dan terdiri dari lebih 17.500 pulau-pulau dengan kesebaran penduduk yang tidak merata dan pembangunan infrastruktur yang belum memadai. Kami membuat rumah sakit apung dan berlayar ke daerah-daerah yang terpencil. Sebagai sebuah organisasi yang bergerak di bidang medis, kami dengan pengalaman 10 tahun juga lincah di dalam menyesuaikan diri dengan kondisi dan tuntutan zaman setiap waktu. Ketika dunia dikejutkan dengan datangnya pandemi COVID-19 yang tak terduga ini, ketika kita semua terkaget-kaget, kami berusaha dan segera melangkah untuk melakukan sesuatu agar mereka, baik penduduk, masyarakat, ataupun kolega-kolega kami yang berada di garis terdepan untuk bisa dibantu. Di dalam waktu mulai dari Januari hingga Maret, kami telah memberikan bantuan berupa masker, face shield, hazmat, obat-obatan, dan juga barang-barang makanan yang telah kami salurkan pada hampir 250 institusi kesehatan yang berada di 20 provinsi di seluruh wilayah NKRI. Dan ini kami lakukan semuanya bahu-membahu dengan para pebisnis dan profesional lainnya. Dan kami merasa bahwa apa yang kami lakukan ini, walaupun belum bisa memenuhi segala tuntutan, kebutuhan saudara-saudara kita, tapi tidak-tidaknya menunjukkan bahwa kita berpartisipasi bahu-membahu dengan setiap insan, dengan setiap organisasi, agar tugas yang mulia ini bisa kita tanggulangi bersama. Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih Dr. Lee. Kira-kira dari perspektif humanitarian, apa yang bisa kita pelajari dari pandemi COVID-19 ini?
Pelajaran yang bisa kita tarik adalah ketika zaman normal-normal saja, kita harus memikirkan bahwa bisa terjadi sesuatu yang di luar dugaan kita, seperti datangnya COVID-19 ini. Kita harus bertindak lincah untuk segera mengantisipasinya. Dan untuk itu kita butuhkan kerjasama yang erat dari setiap stakeholder yang ada di mana-mana. Tidak terbatas oleh batasan-batasan negara, tapi sebagai manusia, kita semua adalah saudara, dan kita harus bahu-membahu bersama-sama menanggulangi musuh bersama kita.
Terima kasih, Dr. Lee. Ibu Shinta, we have questions from the audience related to the how we can bridge the paradox goals between keeping health protocol while maintaining productivity level. Any new ways of working should be adopted in the new normal era ini. So, from the perspective of KADIN, can you give us some enlightenment how KADIN see these kind of problems? Please unmute, Bu Shinta. The speaker still mute. Yes.
Thank you, Prof. Firmanzah. I think the focus has been very much on the health protocol. So, as you know, on the new normal, the government has issued a health protocol and guidance that the SOP that companies have to follow. And just recently today, they even sent out letters to companies saying that now they have to work with shift. So not only that the capacity has been reduced to 50%, but now they have to work with shift and so forth. Now, we cannot generalize companies, right? Different companies has different demand in terms of job and functions and how to do it. So there are jobs that can be done work from home. There are jobs that has been done that have to be done in the workplace. So, for example, in manufacturing, there is no way you can, you stay at home. You have to actually do production. So you have to be in the factory. So, if you ask about productivity, obviously it will impact productivity. I mean, this whole COVID, I think whatever ways it will impact. The question is, how can we minimize and how can we reset our mind to have a new way of thinking, a new way of working? So this is why I always said the new normal is not just about the health protocol, because the health protocol you will follow. You know, you have to have your own task force of the COVID. You need to have the clinic, the health facilities in all the workplace and so forth. But what is important is how you actually transform the business. And the transforming the business is not just about how people are working, whether that's from home or from the office. We have to review this whole business process. We have to review the supply chain. We have to really look at technology. So when we look at adaptation to new normal, it's now a lot about technology. A lot of companies that has not been paying attention of technology is very much impacted. So technology now become a big driver. And when we talk about technology, it's also related to the innovation side. So I completely agree that research and development has to be a key point and priority for Indonesia, because we have not really been focusing much on this. And companies need to be incentivized to be able to do more of this research, more on technology, more innovation. How can government support that? But also the other aspect, while we are reviewing our supply chain, our business process, you know, how we are doing things, this is where I think the time to look at what kind of skills are needed. This is why I said, you know, we were talking a lot about green jobs, we were there, but actually what skills are needed? This Indonesia, we have always said Indonesia has a demographic bonus because we have a lot of people, right? But actually, in actuality, with automation, technology, and there will be a shift of job. So we have to be careful that if we don't pay attention, this can be our liability instead of our bonus. And I think the way companies are doing business, the way how we have to improve our productivity, we can't be, this journey is not doing it alone. Basically, without the government support, without the support from the laborers, and we can't do it ourselves, right? So employers and employees have to sit down together. They need to understand that the change of mindset needs to come from everyone. It cannot be just from the industry. So we've been working a lot with the labor unions because we feel that they need to see that there's definitely a change. We talk about skill development. We have to talk about change jobs, shifting of jobs. This is all that we need to look at. So it's not just about productivity level in each of our companies, but I think we need to really look at the total. Indonesia need to look at our jobs in totality.
Thank you, Ibu Shinta. Back to Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee, format seperti apa yang menurut Dr. Lee ideal connection antara humanitarian institution seperti doctorSHARE dengan dunia bisnis? Tentu selama ini sudah berjalan, tetapi ke depannya apa yang kira-kira bisa diimprove?
Bahwa kegiatan-kegiatan sosial seperti ini, seperti yang kami lakukan, di mana rata-rata kami yang bekerja di doctorSHARE ini adalah relawan-relawan. Kami membutuhkan kerjasama yang erat dengan profesional di bidang bisnis. Tanpa kerjasama, tanpa bantuan teman-teman kita dari bidang usaha, tak mungkin pekerjaan mulia ini bisa kita lakukan. Jadi kerjasama yang erat, kolaborasi yang erat antara dunia usaha, dunia bisnis dengan organisasi nirlaba seperti kami ini harus dipupuk dan harus dikembangkan secara erat. Tanpa kerjasama yang baik, tak mungkin dilakukan.
Ya, selama ini sejumlah perusahaan memiliki divisi khusus terkait dengan kegiatan-kegiatan sosial, environment, humanitarian, katakanlah ada divisi CSR, ada divisi community development. Bagaimana untuk bisa menghindari overlapping di lapangan, Dr. Lee?
Overlap, Prof, bahwa ada juga
Ya, ketika Dr. Lee masuk ke sebuah daerah, kemudian ada sejumlah perusahaan juga masuk, sementara daerah lain masih kekurangan, begitu.
Ya, jadi sebelum kami melakukan pelayanan di suatu daerah, kami akan melakukan survei terlebih dahulu akan kebutuhan daerah tersebut dan apa yang sudah tersedia di sana. Kalau sebuah daerah sudah mempunyai pelayanan medis yang adekuat, kami akan menghindari daerah tersebut. Kami akan mencari daerah yang lebih membutuhkan, dan ini hanya bisa dilakukan kalau kita bekerja sama dengan institusi-institusi lainnya, terutama dengan pemerintah daerah setempat.
Baik, terima kasih Dr. Lee. Ibu Shinta, you mentioned previously that the usage of technology must be being an important aspect for the new normal era. So I'm interested on elaborating digitalization. So how does KADIN see the potentiality of digitalizations? Is it business sectors in Indonesia ready yet adopting digitalization instead of e-commerce?
Firman, I think we need to understand that Indonesia, our bulk lies 97% is in the small medium enterprises. When we talk about technology, there's a lot also then connected to costs, right? And that's why I've been mentioning a lot about incentive. Now, of course, it's there are now many. I mean, I've been working with many startups. Also, they've been, doing a lot of online and digital startups. Tech startups are very now common in Indonesia. But if we look at the bulk and we work with SMEs that are located all over Indonesia, we need to understand that infrastructure plays a very important role. You know, Pak Firman, we know that today, even in our office, even sometimes a lot of times our Wi-Fi doesn't even work properly. And this is in big companies, right? How can our SME get access, right? So even if they want to change and do more digital, more digitalization, how can we support them, providing them with the hard and soft infrastructure? And this is, I think, very, 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 very key for Indonesia. That's why I said it cannot come just from us. The government needs to play a role, because if we want to adapt to the technology, it is an ecosystem that we have to build. It cannot be just coming from us. So I've talked to many of the e-commerce company that's doing very well, the marketplace like Tokopedia, Shopee, they're doing very, very well right now. And hopefully they can even increase recruitment, and there are people that can recruit more people. But what is important is we need to look at business as not everyone can just become a marketplace overnight, right? I mean, e-commerce is just a tool of marketing, but digitalization is way beyond that. So we talk about factories, for example, automation, right? Even, do you know, even we want to do automation on right now, you know, I have a company, my son actually doing a designing on robotics, for example. You know, this is all costs that company have to incur, even to start doing this, right? So we need to really look at all this, Pak Firman. It's not just about whether we want or we don't want. It's about how can we actually execute this. And this is a much bigger job than just coming from the business. It has to be government vision to bring digitalization to Indonesia. And I think I've seen also that right now Indonesia, with the COVID, we realized that our industrialization needs to also be picked up. So sometimes when we talk about Industry 4.0, we start looking into, are we ready for Industry 4.0? Yes, you know, we said we have the roadmap, we want to be Industry 4.0, but in actuality, a lot of our industry, for example, we are still relying on 70% of our raw materials are still imported. So this is a big problem. Indonesia is not part of the global supply chain. So while we are relooking because of COVID, we need to think government needs to think of how Indonesia also needs to needs to reset its bottom. It's not just about individual business, but how the country can really reset its bottom.
Yeah, I think COVID-19 pandemic realized us that Indonesia still struck with the problem of digital divide. But I move to Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee, kegiatan di doctorSHARE terkait juga apa namanya flying doctors, kemudian ada floating health services, kemudian juga tuberculosis dan juga stunting. Nah, sekarang ini kan semua pihak bicara terkait dengan COVID-19. Bagaimana untuk tetap membangun kesadaran publik bahwa masih ada persoalan lain selain COVID-19 yang masih fundamental di Indonesia seperti tuberculosis, kemudian stunting, malnutrition. Kira-kira seperti apa dari perspektif Dr. Lee?
Ya, banyak isu-isu besar yang masih kita hadapi. Misalnya dari segi tuberkulosis, kita 3 terbesar penyumbang pasien tuberkulosis di dunia. 1 dari 3 anak Indonesia
we lost connections with the Dr. Lee. So let's continue to Ibu Shinta. Ibu Shinta, you mentioned earlier that the coordinations with the government agency, ministry, and institutions are important. Is there any particular strategy developed by KADIN how to deliver the message, the aspirations of KADIN's member to our government, and what are the best format coordination between Chamber of Commerce and government?
Yes, thank you, Pak Firman. So actually, we've been working very closely with government since day 1 of COVID. So we in KADIN, we also have a special task force COVID-19. And what is important is, like I mentioned before, not only we are focusing on issues during COVID, but how we can recover from COVID. So what we have been working with government also on all the policies and regulations, because right now, if you see is in Indonesia, the way we work, there's central government, there's regional government. So sometimes central government one direction, regional government another direction. Even within ministries, sometimes have different policies. So one thing that we have been telling our government, I think the coordination is very important. So they listen to us, we give inputs to them, and then we need to work aligning with all the different ministries and local government. Now, when we talk about what's happening, because we are the implementer, we know what's happening on the ground. So especially, it was very difficult for our government to look at how COVID-19 and economy can work hand in hand, health and economy. This is very, very tough job for our government. Because of course, the priority is we need to save life. We don't want more people. We don't want our COVID-19 increase, right? So how can we work hand in hand? And this is why throughout the whole process of deciding on how each of the regional government doing the PSBB, including coming up with the new normal SOP and health protocol, we've been very much involved because each sector cannot have one. I mean, each sector have to be tailor-made to have their own. And we need to be very detailed. Like, for example, mall and retail, starting yesterday, mall and retail already starting. They need to have very, very detailed health protocol and SOP, because it's impacted also the people, the consumer that wants to go out there. But the health aspect is one thing. The other thing is, how can we create more demand, the customer demand, right? So this is also something that we've been working with the government in terms of how we can increase our purchasing power. And so this is work, I think, where we have now, government have the recovery economic program. Because when we talk about sectors, this is also impacted, of course, the banking sector, which is a big thing. So all this, I think, it incorporated, and I think KADIN has been working very closely. And this is not about just providing criticism to government, but it's try to find solution. So we need to find solution how things can work, what other countries are doing, and what Indonesia needs to do. So we keep on also comparing, because at the end of the day, when we talk about the demand of the market, this is not just from inside Indonesia, but also outside.
Suaranya nggak ada sama sekali.
So this is why I think everybody is looking, what is Indonesia doing, right? If we want our export to be back to the level before, how can we get the export market back? And all other countries are also looking at Indonesia on all the structural reform and everything that we are doing. But I want to go back to the point that I think related to SDG. I think it's very, very important right now that we in each of the companies need to look at of how we create our own roadmap of SDG. I think this is the momentum that is very, very important. And I think while we are giving inputs, we work together, collaboration with government, with civil society. I think, business needs to really relook at this as a new normal. It's about adapting SDG also in our business.
Yes, Prof. Firmanzah, Meshvara is still having some technical difficulty, and therefore what we are trying to do now, okay, I ask her to call my handphone, okay, and then perhaps, we have a few minutes left. I would like to ask Ibu Meshvara now to call my handphone, and then I put the speaker, and hopefully still can be heard from here.
Yes.
Can you start?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Pak Jun.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, first of all, very sorry for the technical difficulties. And thank you, Pak Jun, for making the last effort
Is your voice heard?
having this. Can everybody hear me, Prof?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Ibu Meshvara, we can hear.
Yeah.
Hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
The term new normal was introduced in January 2009. So when I got this subject, adapting to the new normal, I thought that this is not really a new normal, but then this pandemic is really changing us, the way we live. And this COVID-19 pandemic refers the new normal as being a human behavior changes after this pandemic, which includes limiting person-to-person contact, handshakes, etc. How do business adapt to the new normal with both look forward? When the president announced the first case on March 2nd, within 1 hour, almost all supermarkets in Greater Jakarta were being rushed by panicked customers that bought canned food, frozen food, vegetables, etc. So what we learned is that lesson number one, bad news run faster than good news. Even though people now being cured from COVID is more than the death cases. And what we also learned from that is that public relation and communication skill is even more important in today's world, because panic customers lead to more panic customers and they are getting intolerant. What we have done as company is since long ago, we have applied good operational practice and food safety monitoring. This pandemic confirms the importance of what we have been doing and bring assurance to customers when they shop with us. Proactively, even prior to government announcement, we have done the following health protocols. That is temperature control upon entering all premises. All staff should wear masks, face shields, and hand gloves. Provide hand sanitizers in all noticeable areas in the stores, DCs, or distribution centers, as well as in head office. And we were also one of the first retailers that introduced social distancing in stores, distribution centers, as well as office. And that means we all have to change.
Hello, we lost your voice. Hello? Umesh, we lost your voice. Hello?
Okay.
Hello? I think I lost her. Hello? 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 Hello?
Thank you, Pak Junardy. Thank you, Ibu Meshvara. I think we come to the end of the sessions. Well, I don't want to conclude these sessions, but we have several points that should be highlighted during this pandemic and heading to the new normal. Collaborations, cooperation, synergy, alignment, and coordinations are important, especially when we have a common problem such as COVID-19 pandemic. All sectors are impacted, government sectors, business sectors, humanitarian sectors, NGO sectors, social civil sectors also impacted heavily on this situation. So that's why we need more collaborations, cooperation, synergy, alignment, and coordinations. So thank you very much, Ibu Shinta Widjaya Kamdani. Thank you, Ibu Meshvara Kamjaya, Bapak Vidjongtius, dan Dr. Lee Agustinus Dharmawan for opinion and sharing with us today. So back to Pak Junardy.
Thank you, Prof. Firmanzah, for moderating these sessions. And also thank you for all these panelists. I think it has been exchange about these sessions, about what we are going to do and what we are facing and how we are going to do with this pandemic era. I think the time is up now already, so I cannot say too much about this. But anyway, I hope this session, the two sessions about women and now about these pandemic things, very useful, and I hope this is informative and productive for all your audience here. And then see you again in the next session for this virtual leader summit of UN Global Compact. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pak.